You know this about you, that you used to be on the left, and now would you say you're more apolitical just by the definition of the work that you do, or do you really find yourself a centrist in terms of what your actual beliefs are?
Well, for a long time, I hated the Republican Party, and I think that since Newt Gingrich, they have become a really irresponsible party. And so I called myself somebody who was in the center, but I didn't like the Republicans.
I have a few short clips here of Jonathan Haidt and Jordan Peterson. It starts off with a quick clip of Jonathan Haidt mentioning that he believes that since Newt Gingrich came on the scene, the Republicans have become an irresponsible party. Although he doesn't go into specific details in that interview, the next clip, which is going to follow now, is from another talk, where he goes into further details regarding the divide in Congress. In this clip, he provides more insight into why Newt Gingrich may be more culpable. The third clip is from an interview between Jordan Peterson and Steven Crowder. In it, Jordan Peterson discusses the importance of communication while highlighting some of the general differences in the temperaments of conservatives and liberals. I think there's great value in contemplating what is being said here. Both the left and the right are talking less. The extreme right and the extreme left are setting up camps that dig in and don't allow for common sense and open discussions to take place. Links to the full videos are in the description.
What you see is, if we go back, this is from the Eisenhower through the Carter administration. The right half, this is the more right-leaning party, which in modern times is the Republican Party. The light red is the moderate Republicans. The medium red is the medium, sort of regular conservative. So these are centrists, conservatives, and extreme conservatives. And dark, there's just a little bit of dark red here. So if you go back in that age, this is the midline. There were liberal Republicans, and then there were also this red line here. These are conservative Democrats, because the midline separates the chamber by party. So there used to be crossovers in both parties. And also note that the Republicans were overwhelmingly moderates or centrists. There were almost no far-right Republicans back in Eisenhower's day, or just a couple. But now watch what happens once we get past, remember, 1980 is the critical turning point. Now look at the slope here. These are the moderate Republicans. They go to extinction by the time Obama enters office. They're gone. And this little bit of dark red here, when Reagan came into office, becomes the large majority. The large majority of Republicans are now far right. On the Democratic side, there's been a slight move that way, but it's slight. So there are fewer centrists than there used to be, but it's nowhere near what happened there. It is now the case that the great majority of Republicans are what you would call far right. And they are ideologically passionate. The Democrats are more mixed. The situation in the Senate is similar, but it's not as bad. The Senate is not as polarized. Second reason is generational and cultural changes. So as was famously known, Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan could compete fiercely during the day, but they liked each other. They could have a drink at night. We go from them. Now, the key thing here is they remember World War II. Anybody who remembers World War II was shaped by it. And people came together to fight a foreign evil. When they went on to public life later, they could trust each other. They could work for the good of the country. We go to the first baby boomer president and the baby boomer speaker, and they didn't like each other. But there was enough goodwill in Washington in the 90s. There were enough older politicians who had friendships that Washington could still work. And this is where we are now. They don't like each other. They don't know each other. The social ties have frayed. Well, actually, this one's important. Then this is the last one I'll do. Major changes in Washington in 1995 when Gingrich comes in. The Democrats had shut the Republicans out for a long time. And when Gingrich finally brought the Republicans to victory, they wanted a more ideological House that would not, where the Republicans who were coming in would not be co-opted and become mushy centrists. So he makes a lot of changes. Committee chairmen now are not appointed by seniority, where they could even be liberal. They're now appointed by him, by the leadership, so that he can reward those who are loyal to him and are extremely conservative. Most important change he makes, I think, was he changed the calendar. It used to be that congressmen and senators actually lived in Washington, which meant that their spouses had all sorts of activities together, and their kids went to school together. They were at parties together. Gingrich said no more of this, no more fraternizing with the enemy. He changed the calendar. so that now all business is done from Tuesday afternoon through Thursday morning, just about. So nobody needs to live in Washington. You fly in Monday night, you fly out Thursday evening. And he said, don't get a house here, don't move your family here. So since Gingrich, since that time, very few of them live there anymore. They rent a place with other members of their party. They do battle for 2.5 days a week, and they go back to their district where they speak with people on their side. So there's been a complete change in the social order of Washington. Imagine this incredibly complicated machinery that the Founding Fathers gave us, with like 2 steering wheels and 2 brake pedals and 2 houses and 2 parties. It's so complicated. And somehow it worked for almost 200 years, for 200 years. Well, it failed a couple times. It works for a long time because there's the motor oil of friendships and human relationships. That's what politicians are great at. They're generally very warm people with very good personal skills. So you take this really complicated machine and you open the plug and you say no more motor oil, no more lubricant, no more personal relationships. All the oil drains out, the machine seizes up. And that's where we are.
I mean, one of the things that our research and other people's research has indicated is that conservatives are conservative and liberals liberal because of their temperaments. It's partly biological. So, for example, conservatives tend to be higher in conscientiousness, which is industriousness and orderliness, particularly orderliness, and lower in openness.
Does that sound like someone?
So, and
God crucified him for not putting things away properly.
Well, and the orderliness seems to be the thing that's driving things on the conscientiousness side. And so what that means is that conservatives, roughly speaking, make better managers and administrators. Okay, now liberals are higher in openness, which is both interest in ideas and interest in aesthetics, and they're lower in conscientiousness. And so, and one of the consequences of that is that they tend to make better entrepreneurs and artists. And so our society is basically set up, and this is something people really need to think about, is that...
But that's odd, because nearly all business owners tend to be more conservative.
Not the entrepreneurs. Go to Silicon Valley.
Well, come on, you're talking about a limited amount of people, and Steve Jobs beats the shit out of his kids.
Well, look, I do consulting work for this company called the Founder Institute, and we've tested 40,000 would-be entrepreneurs from all over the world, 165 different cities. It's the biggest early-stage tech incubator in the world now. The guy who runs it, Adeo Resi, has created 2,500 new businesses in 4 years doing this. And we know what predicts entrepreneurial ability. And so the liberals are really interested in how ideas relate to one another, and they like to jump from one thing to another. And it does make them more creative, but they're not very good at implementation. Whereas the conservatives are very good at implementation and at detail. And so roughly speaking, the conservatives need the liberals to start companies and to generate new ideas, even though a lot of those ideas are going to be bad.
Right.
Okay, but the liberals need the conservatives to run the damn companies. Now, you can be temperamentally conservative and temperamentally liberal. And those are valid viewpoints because there's a place for those viewpoints in the world. They can function as tools. But what you have to do is exactly what you just said. If you're a conservative, you need to listen to the liberals because they have some things to tell you. And the liberals, and I think they're far worse at this at the moment, by the way, the liberals have to learn to listen to the conservatives because the conservatives hold things together and stabilize things.
Right.
Yeah, well, so the dialogue. Now, the reason free speech is so important is because liberals and conservatives have to communicate in order to keep society going. And it's communication that's central to free speech. You have to be able to talk to each other, or you separate into armed camps and you either one becomes the other's slave, one becomes a tyrant, or there's conflict.
If you like the video, smash that like button. If you don't like it, leave a comment explaining why. If you have nothing to add,
ZeroFox given.